In the north of Ukraine, winter does not arrive. It settles. It presses down on roofs and forests and memory alike, until the world feels smaller, quieter, suspended between breaths. I had not been back to the village of Mykhailo in 17 years. Not since the winter my father disappeared. They said he wandered into the forest during a snowstorm. They said the cold took him. They never found a body. But in villages like Mykhailo, people do not say what they believe. They say what is easier to survive. I returned because the house was finally being sold, because I was the last one left to sign the papers. Because I thought time had thinned whatever haunted my childhood. I was wrong. The house stood at the edge of the village, facing an open field that disappeared into white emptiness. It looked smaller than I remembered. But the well beside it. The well looked larger. Deeper. The wooden cover was half buried in snow, yet untouched by frost. As a child, I had been forbidden to go near it. Water remembers, my father used to say. Especially in winter. Inside, the air was warmer than it should have been. Not heated. Just not cold. The silence was thick. As if the walls absorbed sound. That first night, I heard it again. The rope of the well creaking. Slowly turning. As if someone below were pulling. In Mykhailo, no one speaks directly. They imply. They pause. They let meaning gather in the spaces between words. When I went to the small shop near the church, the shopkeeper, old Mykhailo, looked at me longer than necessary. "You came back," he said. "For the house." He nodded. "And the well." I felt something tighten in my chest. "What about it?" He studied me carefully. It did not freeze this year. The temperature had been below -20 degrees Celsius for weeks. Everything froze. Except, apparently, our well. The sound came at exactly 2:27 a.m. Not loud. Not violent. Just the steady groan of rope moving against old wood. I told myself it was wind. But the air outside was still. I put on my coat and stepped into the snow. The moon hung low and sharp. The well cover was open. I was certain I had closed it. The rope swayed gently. Descending into darkness. And from below. A soft echo. Like breath rising from a throat far underground. When my father disappeared, I was 10. That winter, I dreamed of water every night. Not rivers. Not lakes. A narrow column of blackness stretching downward forever. In the dream, I would stand at the edge and hear his voice. Not calling for help. Just speaking calmly. As if continuing a conversation we had paused. I never told anyone. Because in villages like ours, dreams are not dismissed. They are weighed. Measured. Feared. On the third night, I noticed the marks. Scratches along the inner stones of the well. Not random. Not animal. Parallel lines. Like fingernails dragged upward. Trying to climb. The rope was damp. But not with frozen water. With something warmer. The air rising from the well smelled not of earth. But of thaw. As if spring existed somewhere far below. And it was moving closer. I began asking questions. Quietly. Carefully. The oldest villagers remembered things differently. Long ago, before electricity, before paved roads, the well had another purpose. It was not only for water, it was for listening. During the deepest winter nights, when the ground was too hard to dig graves, when storms isolated the village for weeks, people would gather around the well and lower a lantern inside. If the flame flickered, it meant the earth was restless. If the flame went out, it meant something below had awakened. No one explained what that something was. Because everyone assumed everyone else already knew. On the seventh night, it finally happened. Clear. Undeniable. My name. Spoken from beneath the earth. Not distorted. Not echoing. Just my name. As my father used to say it, calm. Measured. I did not move. I did not answer. The rope tightened. As if weight had shifted below. Then came the second sentence, you left too early. The snow around the well began to melt. In a perfect circle. My father had not been the only one. There had been others. Every generation or so. Always in winter. Always without a body. Always explained away as storms. Or alcohol. Or missteps in deep snow. But there were no footprints leading away from the well that winter. I remember that now. The snow had been untouched. Perfect. Except for one place, where the surface had collapsed inward. I tied the rope around my waist. I do not remember deciding to do it. Only that I needed to know. The inside of the well was not frozen. The stones were warm. The deeper I descended, the less cold I felt. Until winter vanished completely. And I heard water flowing below. Not dripping. Flowing. As if a river existed beneath the village. And then. Light. Soft. Golden. Far beneath. At the bottom was not water. Not exactly. It was a vast hollow chamber. Roots threaded through the ceiling like veins. And in the center. A pool. Perfectly still. Within it, reflections moved. Not mine. Faces. Generations of them. Villagers long gone. And among them. My father. Not aged. Not decayed. Preserved. As if time had folded. He looked at me. You understand now, he said. The well did not drown people. It anchored them. When winters grew too harsh. When loss grew too heavy. When the village needed balance. Someone descended. And stayed. So that the earth above could endure. You can return, my father said. But the frost will deepen. The village had survived centuries. Wars. Famines. Occupations. Because something below absorbed what would have broken it. Grief. Despair. Loneliness. The well did not take life. It redistributed burden. I felt the weight of winters I had not lived. Of storms that never reached us. Of tragedies softened before they surfaced. Someone always paid. In silence. When I climbed back up, dawn was breaking. The snow around the well was untouched. Perfect again. No circle of melt. No open cover. No rope. Had I imagined it, the village felt different. Lighter. Children's laughter echoed across the field. The sky seemed clearer. But inside me, something had shifted. I knew what would happen next winter. And the winter after that. Balance demands repetition. If you ever visit a northern Ukrainian village in deep winter, and you see a well that does not freeze, do not look too long. Do not listen too closely. Because water remembers. And beneath the frost, something waits patiently. Not malicious. Not cruel. Simply necessary. The earth does not always swallow. Sometimes. It keeps.